Great. So thanks for taking the time to talk to me. I know it was all kind of last minute, but I really appreciate you joining. So yeah, just how's it been? How's the last few months? I guess the year been since you've left WWE, and kind of, I mean, people won't see or hear as much from you anymore. What's been going on?
Yeah, it's been great so far. But before I start, should I turn my phone to horizontal because I have right now vertical the picture?
It's up to. I'm fine with how it is. If you want, you're quite
Awesome,
nice and
great.
framed anyway.
So basically, yeah, I'm doing well. I'm super busy, not only in my wrestling career right now, also like in private life. Just a couple changes since the last year or so. If I remember correctly, it's almost 1 year anniversary after I got let go from WWE, and so far so good. Everything went great. All my goals I have set since I left WWE, I kind of accomplished so far. My first goal was like in 2021, just to come back to the independent wrestling scene, and especially in Germany, just to ground myself again, just become the top talent in the German wrestling scene, which I have done with winning the two most important titles in the German wrestling scene. And then for this year, 22, which I consider kind of the new beginning after the pandemic, that like the wrestling market's opening up again, and especially in the UK, that we have again shows with a lot of people without like mask and without distancing and everything, and like full capacity venues, like everything. So I'm pretty happy with like how it's been turned out after WWE, and yeah, it's very promising, like that I have the chance like to do again what I love, and that I have a like kind of a creative freedom in the way I present myself in the ring. And I have a lot of goals to accomplish, and I'm thinking the way it turned out the last year, the ways the situation is right now, I'm pretty sure, I'm positive that I will accomplish my other goals as well.
That's awesome to hear. I mean, we're probably going to jump around a little bit, and it's all going to be a little bit sort of jumbled timeline wise, but throughout your career, it looks like you've kind of been here, there, and everywhere. So I guess let's start with the present. You talked about the German scene and kind of moving back into there. How was that transition, moving from the kind of very polished production of WWE and NXT UK, and then moving back into the very kind of more intimate surroundings of the independent scene?
It was all right. There was not a big change as I probably expected, or somebody would expect, hearing that from the biggest company in the world, WWE, to the indie circuits for like, you know, wrestling for German promotions. So the standard got higher of the years, especially before the pandemic hit in 2020. Promotions like WXW or GWF just put a bigger production value behind the product than it was before I left Germany, just to continue my journey with WWE and NXT. So WXW has a high like production, like for an independent wrestling promotion. They have an LED wall. They have like sound systems. They are like a lot of hands on deck. With that being said, is like the biggest company in Europe, in my opinion, but rightfully so, because production is quite high. Also, the second biggest promotion in Germany would be German Wrestling Federation. They have a show once, like every month, at least one show, and they also have like a big production behind, because the owners of GWF, they also a lot of like, they do a lot of work for film studios, so they have the know-how and like the technology for like doing great promos and like having a live stream every show. So it's not just the simple, there's a black curtain, you come out and wrestle in front of some dudes. It's, you know, it's a business right there, and I'm very happy like just to see how the German market evolved over the time. I've just been in the States, and it was quite easy like to adjust on that. Of course, it's smaller and the production value is way less than WWE, of course, but there are not a lot of promotions I worked for with like kind of like an independent sport venue standard production. So the transition was very smooth.
Great. Yeah, I mean, obviously with WXW, it's, I guess, very similar for the people who maybe haven't experienced it, if not even bigger than the likes of Progress in the UK, who obviously have that kind of production value as well. But I know it's very well thought of, especially the sort of tournaments that they have across there as well. Let's kind of step back, I guess, to where you made your name in the kind of mainstream on NXT with Sanity. How was that? I know you kind of, that group was formulated over a little bit of time. You had like the replacement when Killian Dane came in as well. But I guess that real stepping out moment, would you agree, was NXT Takeover in Orlando with that 8-man tag match? How was that for you? Like, what was that experience like coming out?
It was great though. So it was kind of the home turf because Orlando was the place where I lived. And also I had the chance to have my wife with me, which was special, like first row seats. And she sat next to Eric Young's wife. And it was kind of like when you have the guys in the football stadium and the wives of the players just standing next to each other. No, overall it was a great time, and it was a great show, and the match was everything great. And we had the chance to opening up the takeover card. The guys on the other side, Chris Hero, Ty Dillinger, Roderick Strong, and Ruby Soho, right now, Ruby Riott back in the day, being great counterparts to our act. And it was the first major takeover for Sanity, and it was my first major takeover. Before that, we just had the takeover for, I think it was in Toronto. We just had the pre-show, something show up, and we did like a segment right there. But it was my takeover debut, and I really had fun there, and the match went great and everything. Everybody in that team, everybody in that match had an important piece of work to do, and everybody delivered, in my opinion. And overall, the weekend was great because for me, it was the first weekend where I really got into the mix with everything. Just WrestleMania weekend, had some WrestleMania Access matches under the Sanity banner. Then, of course, the Takeover show, and just being around like the entire like industry bubble, WrestleMania bubble was great. So, and it was the first step. It was the start for Sanity, and it went great. And I think that was one of the reasons why we had a success the month or the year after.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that WrestleMania weekend. I remember actually meeting you in the Performance Center, and there was like a sort of media day, and WWE was really keen to say, "Hey, talk to this guy. He's like the first like major German star like that we've had," and like and then from that, obviously you had the Access match, and I think you kind of took out No Way Jose, and like it kind of filtered through the entire weekend. Was that the kind of moment in your like wrestling career at that point where you're like, I've arrived to where I kind of wanted to get to for now?
Yeah, for sure. Because the time before that, I started April 2015, and you start in a new, like, let's say territory, in a new promotion, in a new company. And I wrestled at least 15 years. I started like 2000. So I started training 15 years before I got like, before I started my WWE journey, before I got hired. So I had some experience, but I was totally not perfect. I'm still not perfect. I'm a big believer that you learn every day and that nobody's perfect, and you always have to work hard. So when I came to America, when I moved over, for me was always like, let's go to work. So 2000, was it 2000? It was 2016 was Dallas, 2017, right? So from 2015 April to that day, it was for me constantly working my ass off, just like employing like this knowledge I had would just get used to the way of working this WWE style, or just work in the WWE system. So learning the way, the do's and don'ts, learning how to wrestle on a TV production, learning how to wrestle on a live TV production, which is also a total different animal. And then also just, to communicate. And I learned like a lot of new ways how to do a match, and just to also like on top, just to become this Alexander Wolfe character in Sanity, which was like a huge part of my work, because in the ring, I can do almost everything without even thinking in my abilities. But for me, the challenge was just to evolve a character which is me, but which is not really me. So just to find something which is deep down in my sight, kind of like a realistic version of Alexander Wolfe's Sanity, and then just be the like turn up to 11 character, which I've just portrayed in Sanity. And that was a lot of fun. And I had some great coaches who helped me with that. One of the best character coaches I had at the Performance Center was Scotty Tohati. He helped me a lot with that because he's not a wrestling guy. He's more an entertainer guy. And he gave me so many like ideas how to be the character. And also like the majority of the coaches are being great all over the years in the Performance Center. And they helped me. And I had really fun to develop that thing. So at this WrestleMania weekend, it was for me like the first, it was not the try run, it was the okay, let's go, let's keep it a go. So we had some TV tapings before that, of course, from the time Sanity debuts, and then you could see a different version, the Sanity debut, and then in the end, like the Alexander Wolfe, where I just put more like myself in it instead of just being totally crazy at the time, with having just a thought of let's be a psychopath, like, let's be somebody else who's relentless and everything, and then just putting the detail into the whole character, just the mannerisms and like the characteristic like details in it. And as you said, that weekend was for me also International Media Day. So I'm the only German guy in this company at that time. So I got presented. I had the chance like just to present myself, to showcase myself, just to talk about myself and answer some questions. And that's also a lot of times a big value, because it's not for certain that somebody asks you for an interview. It's not for certain that you get a time from somebody just to talk about you. And it's for me, like even now, like that's why I love to do interviews. I love to kind of like present myself, explain myself, that people get more behind the character, get more behind me as the person or the athlete. So, and that time at WrestleMania was very special. And I kind of scored like internally when I talked with like person who've been, you know, very, very on a high position and everything. So everybody was happy with me. So it was a full success for me that weekend, not only for having my takeover debut, but also show them that I can be 100% professional, just represent the company and my country in a good way.
Yeah, well, you came across very well when I spoke to you anyway. I guess at that time, there were so many, it was the roster of tag teams was stacked in NXT. You had Authors of Pain, obviously at the tail end you had Undisputed Era coming in, DIY was still around. You know, there were so many amazing teams. When you're going out there, how did you kind of say, right, well, Sanity needs to be its own thing? What was the kind of discussion to say, like, we can bring something completely different to this scene and elevate it as well?
Yeah, I think the best example for that would be the War Games match in 2017. So you will have the powerhouses, Authors of Pain, like the Indestructible Force, like just you have, you know, two guys like massive brick walls you really have to smash down. Then you would have like those never say die or like babyface guys, whatever, like technical guys and everything. So the direction we got for Sanity was simple. Smoking Aces, in that movie, you have a group of guys being psychopath, Trumbo brothers, being like psychopathic, like assassins. Just, you know, they want to stab somebody for the sake of just, you know, killing him, but, you know, take the risk of just getting shot or whatever. And this was the direction, or this was the vision Triple H had for the group. So they put together like some guys. It was like Eric Young, Sir Fulton, myself. And then before the debut, they put Nikki Cross with us. Then later on, Sir Fulton tore his pec, so he had to, you know, had to recover it, get surgery, out for 6 months. But the train was already rolling, so they replaced him with Kieran Dane, which was like also like a big factor on success, because with Sawyer Fulton, so in that time at WWE, he never wrestled somewhere else. So he never had the experience of being on the indies, just having like this, a lot of repetitions. So he had some limitations on that. had, because right now he's doing great and he learned so much more just being out there, just working the indie crowds.
Yeah.
And that was an experience Nikki and I had, of course, very young, but like then Kieran Dane came in, Big Demo, and he just brought another layer to the entire group, which was probably also a big factor for the success of Sanity. So we made sure that we've been different, and also which being said, the production Triple H made sure we've been different as well. Different kind of promo, different kind of wrestling. So for me, I love wrestling. I love technical wrestling. They told me, don't do wrestling. Just you are too smooth, too crisp and everything. Just be that, but be more rocket. Imagine, instead of putting somebody in a hold, try to pull his eye out, or try to, I don't know, just rip his teeth out, whatever. Just try to create this mindset that you're not a wrestler. You're a guy nobody wants to meet in the dark corner somewhere in the alley, because he will not rob you. He just wants to hurt you because he's sadistic, he's a freak, right? So that mindset, and I think that brought like the whole entire picture to the NXT universe, which made us kind of like successful, because they saw Sanity is different and there is great potential in the entire like act.
And just to kind of round out, I guess, the questions on Sanity, that particular group is always the example people give when they're talking about call-ups to the main roster and things that just didn't work, and it's a drop ball, and like it's one of the biggest examples when you speak to people and wrestling fans and they say, I can't believe they didn't work that through, and it almost tried it again with Retribution, and and I've heard you say before, maybe it was just like the wrong time and things like that. But what's your take on it now, like a year on, away from the company?
First of all, no hard feelings, because it's business and that's what it is. And everybody who signed the contract needs to know, like, that's what it can be. And it happens so many times, and even before us. There was this mention like that. I remember there was this huge tag team on NXT, the Ascensions, and they got called up and they got dropped like a hot potato. And I remember when we talked about like calling up and blah, 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 it was always mentioned like, hopefully we do not get the Ascension treatment, being huge and undeniable, like destructive force in NXT, just
had a cool
squashing people here and there and having the matches, and they got up to the main roster and out of the blue, becoming like the jobbers or whatever, or like the main event or whatever, for apparently no reason. But I think the reason is what happened to them, what happened to us, what happened to Retribution, what happened to so many people after us, what will happen to so many people after us, is that time is so important in that business, especially WWE. And Shawn Michaels explained that to me in a very simple example, where he said, like, so today you have an idea for creative, and it's the worst idea ever. And in that case, everybody laughs about you. And in 2 weeks or 2 months time, it's the best idea ever, and it makes millions of dollars. So, and here we are. We have this act down and tag team of the year, and every time we went, we just been one of the most over acts and everything, and people just, as soon as the entrance hits, people just been in our hands. So like super awesome work, and we got over pretty quick, and that was not by accident. Like, everything did their part, everybody worked hard on that, and they brought it, like the let's say the organic way of like how we grew as this stable. I think the first mistake was splitting us off, just to get the call up to EY, Damo, and myself, and without Nikki Cross, because she was a very, very important piece of this entire picture. Yeah. And then the second part was, we should get the promotion and the air vignettes and everything, but they did not pull the trigger on that. So they showed the vignettes 3 weeks in a row. The fourth week was just on social media, and the fifth week they did not do anything. So of course, like, you make people hot about it. Like, you want to, you advertise them, you tease it, and they want to see it. And then you fade away, and people also like their interest fades away. So then we got told so many things like, they want to do some great things with you, and Vince loves you guys, and he has so much in his mind. And it was probably not a lie, but after 1 or 2 months, you're dead in the water because probably you have something else to do. So you're focused not on the new guys coming up. Oh, then the new guys are up. So what now? Then you probably pull the trigger too early and something happens. And then also it's all about like time management. Like even like if you want to see it as a chaos theory, and without going too much into details, I probably told that story a lot of times in other podcasts, was somebody gets bitten by a dog and then you lose your TV debut match on SmackDown, and that's never a good sign. So, and then in the end, I think some things about the in-ring stuff and like the characters Vince didn't like. So apparently he took us off the shows, and then, but like the entire production up there is so chaotic. You have so many people for so many stuff. But now I know you should always try to speak to Vince McMahon, or like just to Chris Richards or whoever's in charge there for creative, or Michael Hayes. Because if you go to the writers, they probably will not pitch it because they may be afraid just to lose their job, or maybe too afraid to speak up, or have some other dudes they go around, or politics, whatever. But that's the nature of the beast. That's what it is, and you have to understand that. I didn't knew that. I probably think the other guys didn't knew that time. Now we know, but for now it's like if I review everything, it's kind of like this. Yeah, why is it not happening? And everybody's kind of like soured about it. Everybody's disappointed because they saw so much potential in that. But also one of the big factors is everything what works on NXT does not mean it works on the main roster. And just to give the comparison, like NXT, especially the old era, was more like rock and roll and heavy metal and hardcore. It was more like the crunchy style, like the aggressive style. And probably the product people love to watch, to see some great wrestling under the WWE umbrella, and not the too much pop culture, whatever thingy with like hip hop and pop music. So you have the metal hardcore fans, the rocket guys, and then you have the pop culture, pop music, hip hop guys, like for everybody, like more kids. And I think like NXT especially changed now as well. And like back in the days, it was like more like the, Sanity was more a part of NXT than ever on SmackDown.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned Vince there, and I heard a podcast where Killian or Big Damo mentioned a story, but didn't really go into it, about you playing hide and seek with Vince McMahon. What's the story there?
Hide and seek with Vince McMahon. To be honest, I have a lot of like loss of memory in a lot of days. So a lot of times you talk about something and then I remember, but I think it was something right before I went to NXT UK, and it was that there's maybe two versions. One version is when you're not on the television, you try to get out of the arena ASAP because you do not want to sit around in catering and eating tons of calories and just be depressed that you, after 2 months, you're not even then on television. And a lot of times you try like just to get your trolley together, your bag, and then you try to go out without that anybody spots you, that you leave, because you're afraid of that they stoot you out and that it's, why you're not staying end of the show or whatever. Yeah, because I'm fucking done with that. I want to just go home. You do not want to let me work here. But I think the other one was that I was waiting for the office, and I think Vince came across, and I kind of like played with him hide and seek, just because I was totally full. Like it was before I just went to NXT UK, and I was not in a good place, because of course you do not get used. You gain some weight and everything. You almost lose your passion and everything, and that's something you have to overcome. But I think it was something like that. But maybe you can tell me more. Because again, I'm so busy in my head, even at the moment, especially at that day. So I guess it was kind of like I'm a goofball in a lot of things. It's very difficult sometimes to take things serious. You know what I mean? So even when shit hits the fan, I'm still there and just laughing. And that's kind of like the way when you see me as Alexander Wolfe in Sanity. a lot of times that's a little bit of me, that I'm kind of like the Joker of an X-ray. Somebody gets shot, I'm still kind of, so from this perspective. So a lot of times I was kind of like, yeah, fuck it, let's fuck around with him. Just, let's get some reaction from him, because otherwise he doesn't care anyway. So maybe that was the mindset where I kind of played hide and seek with him.
So you went from that Alexander Wolfe Insanity. I know we kind of fast forward a little bit, and we went from Alexander Wolfe Insanity to Alexander Wolfe in Imperium, which is obviously very different. You've gone from this kind of crazy, like, I guess, like almost schizophrenic, all over the place kind of character, to a very disciplined in Imperium, the Matter Sacred, etc. Which of the two did you prefer out of Imperium and Sanity?
Both. Like, for me, it's the thing. I really worked hard, and I had, again, like I said before, I had great time creating the Sanity version. The Imperium version is more like me, just without fun. So I like to have fun in life, but I'm very disciplined when it comes to wrestling, especially wrestling training. I'm not joking around. I'm not just bullshitting around. I want to just perform. I want to exercise, and I'm very focused on that. And I also had a lot of like issues or like problems with adapting to the way like Americans are at training, especially the performance center. Because when you talk with your coach, it's like there's like private and there's training or there's business. And when I have a coach, it's the respect person. It's the monarchy of like wrestling and fighting and everything. The coach is there. He's there. You want to learn from him, so you do not like fuck around with him. Just having fun. It's a very dull like way of seeing things, but that's the way I just got trained and I grew up. Like, be respectful and everything. After training, everybody can be friends, but in training, there's the coach, there's the student. And that was kind of what I used for Imperium, because Imperium was this like sports team who really want to represent the sport the way like we got taught, and we think it needs to be respected, but in a very heelish way, like very kind of like dismissing way towards the other talents. Like in my humble opinion, wrestling is art. So if you want to be the comedian guy, if you want to be the serious wrestler, it's up to you. In the end, it matters like which picture or which music or whatever sells. So in that kind, if you're a comedy wrestler, like for example, Orange Cassidy, he's successful because he's great in what he's doing, but it's not for me. But I'm successful in a different way. So it doesn't matter which kind of like way of art you do. It has to be successful. Otherwise, it's probably not doing like, no, wait a minute, it's not probably done right. So sorry for my bad English. I'm just struggling a bit. So that being said, the Alexander Wolfe and Imperium was way different than the Sanity one, but a lot of times you could see a little bit the Sanity one through and through, because again, the Sanity one was a little bit of my personality in real life, also the Imperium version. So I still to this day, I easily can do the turn. If I want to bring that Sanity version out, I can do it because it's my own creative. It's still in me. So, but also the Imperium version. But the Imperium version was way easier because it's more the way I just grew up in wrestling.
One of the only times you really got to see the entire stable, faction, whatever you want to call it, of Imperium in the ring together was against Undisputed Era, which was, at Worlds Collide. I have to ask you, obviously, it didn't go too well for yourself. What's your recollection, if you can, of that match? Because obviously it ended very early for you.
So the match was great, but for me it was my least favorite experience in my entire career. So when I got injured in War Games, I got busted open, and it was great because it blood some like blood in the whole deal and the War Games match, and I wasn't hurt, I wasn't knocked out, I just got gashed open like a madman. They stapled me through the cage, and I was staying in character and just laughed like Joker, like devil possessed, and people got behind it. There's at one point like the entire arena chanted my name because like I was crawling from cage to cage like a freaking zombie, just stood in character. So that was great. The Worlds Collide match, again, one of the worst experiences in my career. It was great for the other dudes, especially for Marcel and Ludwig Kaiser. and Fabian Eichner, damn, the new name, so Fabian, forgot his name. I'm not watching NXT 2.0, but I'm aware he's debuting under a new name, so, which is good for him. So, but it was great for them because, of course, Walter is the main act, Gunther now. So, and we all just been like, you know, his henchmen, I guess, but more as a team instead of just the pure henchmen. But like for Fabian and Marcel at that time, it was great because they just not being showcased as much. So because I got taken out like by getting knocked out and everything, and WWE is a great company taking care of their performers, and especially the referees, because they're well schooled and well prepared, that when something happens, like happened to me, the referee Drake Woods, he did a great job saving my in-ring career. And especially WWE just not allowing me to go back, because 5 minutes after that accident, I was almost back on 100, but I was concussed and not on television, and they do not let anything happen to somebody who got knocked out. So kudos to those guys, and kudos to WWE, just being true professionals. I'm very grateful for that. So, but in general, it was very unlucky because I was really looking forward for the match, and the match turned out great. And I believe it would turn out even better if I was still there in the mix, because all my parts where we all like thought about it, everybody had like a great showcasing. I missed that. And I was so looking forward to working with Undisputed Era together, because we had a lot of like nice house show runs, and like the program we had with Sanity in there was always great, and all of the guys are super awesome dudes. Love to work with them. So, but yeah, the whole day was kind of a mess. I was not very sour at that part because I knew you cannot change anything, and I was happy that I had not a broken jaw or anything. I just was knocked out, and apparently because of that, they had to go through the concussion protocol and everything. So I got back very soon, very quick. Everything was fine, and nothing really major happened, but my pride was hurt as hell. So still to this day. So if you talk about that moment, I'm still kind of like a little bit, mad about that it happened, how it happened. But hey, that's life.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the hell out of the match, but it's kind of one of those what if moments of like, you know, if the match had gone the way it was supposed to go, would it it'd be even more? Sorry, I know that the recording might cut off at some point. If possible, we can jump on another one, just in case you wonder what happens. So after that, the world went to hell, and everything happened with, you know, the last couple of years it's happened. But you also managed to squeeze in a couple of pretty awesome matches in NXT UK, in particular against Ilya Dragunov. And, you know, I think I've read like somewhere that they're some of your favorite matches you actually had under the WWE umbrella. Is that right?
Correct. I like NXT UK in general was a great experience, because I had the chance to showcase myself with the abilities I have just to perform into the ring, and I never had this, not even in with Sanity, because I was between the leader and the big guys. So that means if somebody's going down, it's me. But fair play, like I took my chances with Sanity, showcase myself. Like when we won the titles, I put myself like on the map, which is performing a bit of what I'm able to do in the ring. But with NXT UK, it was more, and it was not only that I had a chance like to work with guys like Ilya, which I have known before and since his first day in wrestling, but I had the chance like just to really just do like some pro wrestling stuff in a pro wrestling ring. So even like I had a match with Joe Coffey, which I enjoyed. Norman Dar. We had the first match in the Heritage Cup tournament, which was lovely. It's my first match with Round System, and I really enjoyed that. And also with some other guys, again, like with Ilya Dragunov. I had the chance to work with Finn Balor in NXT UK, so that's also like a big accomplishment in my career. So yeah, I had some great time. Probably from the wrestling perspective, I had my best time in NXT UK for sure.
I guess that set you up quite nicely for the next phase of your career that you find yourself in now, is kind of getting back more into that wrestling style, on the independent rather than the entertainment sides that WWE is very good at. And you have a show up here in Newcastle in a couple of weeks, for North Wrestling, where you'll be going up against Liam Slater, I believe, for the title.
Yeah.
What can fans expect from you in 2022?
Fans can expect everything from me. So wherever I go, and for me, it's the thing. I'm pretty like full with my schedule. My two major like promotions, probably three right now. So WXW and GWF. Those my home promotions in Germany. But now one of the plans is to establish myself in Progress Wrestling more, because I really love just to perform there. And of course, biggest promotion in the UK, but also like just working here and there, like collecting countries. Like last weekend, I was first time in Italy, and when I started in 2021 in October, I debuted in Poland, and I will re-debut in Brussels this week. And yeah, so like getting around, just traveling around, it's just wrestle with everybody. But most importantly, the UK scene is very dear to me, because Europe in general is not, or let's say England or UK and Ireland are not really have anything to do with the European wrestling scene, even if it's the same continent. It's very weird, but I love that. So a lot of people I see in England being successful, like being the big names, nobody knows them in Germany. Other way around, nobody knows guys in the UK scene from Germany who are not being big featured on the big promotions like WXW, for example. So being on like the wrestling show in Newcastle North and wrestle against the champion right there is for me another big step towards getting more exposure to everybody around the world, everybody in England, everybody in the in UK, Ireland, whatever. But just being out there and just showcasing myself. What can people expect? Of course, a fight. I love professional wrestling, but I learned so much in those 6 years in WWE, and I have a ready tool set like with me, which I want to kind of like showcase, which I want to do. So it doesn't matter what kind of crowd, it doesn't matter what kind of an opponent I look to myself, and I want to be like the best possible performer, best possible athlete on the day, and I want to like outwork everybody in the ring and outside of the ring. And it's a fun part that my passion is back up, like the fire is back up, and I'm very compatible. I have a very compatible mindset, especially in wrestling. Of course, it's predetermined, and we want to entertain the great wrestling fans who pay their hard-earned money come to the shows. But also, I'm so compatible. I want to be the best version of myself. Not only looking the best version of myself, not only performing the best version of myself, also like competing for real. Like just like what is my creative process in that match with that one guy I'm wrestling right now? I know we have to work together, but I also want to outwork this person, like in the ring and mentally and everything, without burying the person, without making him look bad, other way around, without like with making him look the best way possible. And in the end, it will be the best match possible. So I always have this mentality of like, if I'm not the last match on the show, I want to come back and kind of like tell him, follow that motherfucker. So it's not possible every time, because not every match should be the same way it is from the opener till the main event. Every match has their right to serve a spot, but I want to be always the one who kind of checks mark the 100% on the end. And most importantly, give the people a great time to react to the match and just see it. People come to the show because they love wrestling. So I want to give them something what they are like, where they feel great afterwards. That makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, someone that you mentioned at the beginning of this chat was Scotty 2 Hotty, who's also going to be there. So you'll get a chance.
Yeah, I'm looking forward. And on the next day, it's Carnival of Wrestling, so we will probably travel together to Carnival and have the time like to chat and just to catch up. Because the last time I was listening to an interview to him, and I have to text him because his positivity and the way this guy is, it's so contagious. So I just can like recommend to everybody, especially wrestlers, if you feel like depressed or whatever, just listen to an interview of him. And he's such a great person, and he's such a great dude. And he was also one of the few guys in the performance center from the coaches staff who really had 100% the back of the talent. Because sometimes you do something and it gets down to the reports and you get chewed out for that. But he was one of the few coaches. There's some of them like still left there, but one of the few coaches who always stood behind the talents and just gave him like a support or whatever, not just, some of the guys are kind of like, no, sell it and you take the heat. And of course, you're professional, so you take it on a chin. But he was one of the guys who kind of stood side by side with us, and I will never forget him this.
So away from the ring, let's talk about music, because what we cover on the site is it's rock and wrestling. I know you were one of the guys who's really excited when NXT would go to download, and you've spoken previously about like kind of your music taste. What's on the playlist at the moment? What do you listen to?
So as you can see, this shirt, The Ghost Inside, is one of my favorite bands. My favorite ones are Stick to Your Guns and Stray from the Path, because I not only like the music, love the music, but also have like a good relationship with the drummer from Stick to Your Guns and the guitar player. The drummer is George and the guitar player Tom from Stray from the Path. So great dudes and awesome music, and it's the way you should go with like workout music, for example, or anything. Like the concerts have been nuts with that point. So, but in general, like depending. So most of the time when I have when I listen to music, it's at workouts, and it's depending which kinds of exercises I do. And it sounds a little bit silly, but sometimes like for warming up, stretching and stuff like this, it's more like hip hop oriented, like a little bit like some beats, like chill beats, something like this. But when it goes to like the weightlifting, everything, it's just in your face, like hardcore music. And just to give you a list, of course, Stick to Your Guns, Stray from the Path. We have The Ghost Inside. We have Terror, Trapped Under Ice. Of course, Every Time I Die. We have Knocked Loose, Evergreen Terrorist, and the list goes on and on and on. Kublai Khan is one of the great bands I discovered last year, or like some of the other years. It's a band from Texas, great beatdown stuff. Lionheart is coming around to my hometown, so we'll hit the pit right there. And that's kind of like one of the things. Walls of Concrete, my former neighbor and a good friend of mine, he was the front singer of this, is more like German hardcore. So, but everything what has to do like with like you have the small clubs, right? The stage and the people are very close. You can stage dive there. You have a pit in the background. There's some violent dancing going on. You pass on the mic. You get sweaty. You get probably a bloody nose, whatever, but something what's kind of physical. And I always used that in the past for a cardio workout. So after that thing, I'm totally dehydrated. I'm kind of in a zombie mode. My eyes are right here, but I'm kind of like exhausted. And probably the next days I'm sore as fuck, and my ears are like clogged because the only sound I hear is beep, because I hate earplugs, and I know it's stupid. But like music is really like a passion. And that was one of the things I missed during the pandemic, because I remember before that, especially living in Florida, sometimes some of the bands are coming down on tour and you just go to the concert, and most of the guys I knew. So I was not a guy who stood on the stage behind it because the sound was shit. I always had to go to the pit, and that brought me, hey, let's meet up afterwards or before, like have some lunch or whatever, nice chat. So because majority of the guys are great dudes and like easy guys to hang out with. So yeah, as you can tell, I'm very passionate about it.
Yeah. Have you got any stories from download that you can remember? Any interesting ones you were there?
So download was always great because you had the chance like just to see some live action. One of the major stories. So let me think about real quick. If I give you 2 or 3, let's go for 2. The first one, I had the chance. And I was never a big fan of them, but since then I'm here and there listening to the music, but I will never forget this experience. The first download we went there was the first ever download, and it was 2016, I guess, or was 17? I don't know, 16. It was before Sanity debut, so it was 16 probably. We went to download, and on the Friday the main event was Rammstein. world famous band. Like
Yeah.
if they announce a concert somewhere close, blink of an eye, it's sold out. And this music is not for everybody, but it's great music. But I never was really into that. But then we stood a little bit longer. We watched the show, and it was amazing. Like the biggest stage there, and like the stage production, and the show with the fire, with the smoke, and with the fog, and it sounded all great. And then also it felt great because I haven't been home for whatever time, and I stood there on the stage, and I could sing along with the lyrics, but I didn't knew the lyrics, but because it was German, I got goosebumps still now just thinking about it, and it was very special for me. But the more funny story was, and it helped me creating also the character, or just establish the character with wrestling fans, because a lot of times when wrestlers portray the character, they are not authentic enough. And they do things they actually wouldn't do just for the sake of the character who would do it. And that was never a goal of mine. So I tried to get this mosh kit out, Alexander Wolfe Sanity version. That's why the Viking dancing and everything. So because that's a part of me, I love to do it and I feel this. So this is authentic. The second download, I guess, where Sanity was already out there, was a little bit established. I remember Every Time I Die was at the download as well. And Andy Williams, the Butcher, he was here and there wrestling there, but he knew a lot of like the boys in the back. So he came to the show and was like, just hanging out, met him first time, blah, blah, blah. And I think we talked a little bit, and he mentioned like, hey, you like our music as well, so we play at that and that time, so please come along, come backstage, up on the stage, and you can enjoy the show. So yeah, cool, why not, awesome, thank you very much. I remember they played before one of the blocks we wrestled there, and I was the opener, and I was, I think, still 1.5 hours left, and I was dead tired. I was so tired that I was kind of like, I want to go to the hotel and have sleep, but you have to work. So sometimes you have to suck it up. You just do the work. And then I drank a cold coffee, black. I always drink black coffee because I do not need sugar and milk. And then I got a little bit this idea of like, hey, how about warming up? And then one of the boys came across, I do not remember who it was, like, hey, we got over to Andy, he's playing at the moment. Oh, he's playing, awesome. But I already had my gear on, so I took my boots off, took some trainers on, and I went to the concert, but I did not went on the stage, but in my outfit, in my Sanity outfit, I went inside the pit and just, warmed up in the mosh pit. And I really got crazy. So there's the point where you just go with it, or you go full steam ahead. And I went full steam ahead. And people just spotted me in the pit. And I remember some people on Reddit just put out some articles, whatever, that, oh, he's a real deal because the stuff you see in the ring, he is for real because I saw him in the mosh pit and Every Time I Die. But the best reaction was, I was at the crowd and you could see my gear, because it was that one where you had like the red and yellow stripes on the one leg. Yeah. So the one I wore at the takeovers, and like you saw Andy playing, and he was kind of like, what the fuck? So that was like going all over the place. After concert was done, I had around like 30 minutes just to get ready for the match. So I went back to the tent, which was which was next to the Avalanche tent where all like the hardcore bands played, and I just got my boots up and quick chat with my guy Jack Gallagher at that time. We went out, performed. I came back, and Andy was standing there like, "What the fuck, dude? Are you serious?" So that was a great like bonding experience with him. So we still to this day are buddies. So, but that was the first time for me really get into the whole download thing. It's usually just wander around, just watching watching some stage performers or listen to some music, but you never really go nuts on that because you do not want to get hurt or injured. But on that moment, and that's one of the great experiences, I was, fuck it, let's go.
Nice. I've got a couple more questions for you, and then I'll appreciate the time you've given. One of the things that I think has been leveled at, especially at WWE, and I guess it's more of a quandary, is it kind of right that a lot of the European guys who have come across that maybe not the English guys, Volta or Gunter as he is now, aren't really afforded that opportunity to speak on TV. How does that come across, or is it literally just a kind of like no one's really had that opportunity so far? Or what's your take on Europeans being afforded that opportunity on TV?
Maybe or maybe not. I think maybe not, because it maybe just comes across like that. Because if you see right now, Gunther and Ludwig Kaiser is the spokesperson of Gunther, both being German-speaking people. So one guy with the mic, and he's not English-based, or not the first language is English with him. But I believe it's, I think 50-50 on that part. But so a lot of times, if you are not, if your first language is not English and you heard with me, I feel comfortable with talking English, but of course, my grammar is not always great. It's not 100% correct. Sometimes I use verbs which doesn't fit at all. So it's probably more like a brain fog for like even production wise, like just a lot of times I had like a promo at like TV, and I just, instead of like resist, I use reject. So and they've been okay with it, but it was not in the script, for example. But I could not remember, so I kind of like, without losing my cool, I just used the different words where I thought it's maybe the same or correct or whatever. Yeah. So I think it's that thing that if I see it on a different way, if you at the German TV production, if there would be one, and you would let like an American guy who would live in Germany for a couple of years speak German, it would be more brain fuck than letting him speak in English. But English is more like the common language for everybody, so they will not let them speak in German as well. And I think that's just a situation. I believe if you have somebody like Ludwig Kaiser, he's very good in promos. He's very good. He's very articulate. He can present everything, and he's very good in English. He can pull this off easily, right? Yeah. And Walter as well, like Gunter, he's also good in English and he can speak, but his natural persona is less characteristic as, for example, Ludwig Kaiser's, because Ludwig Kaiser's mannerisms are more like, better for the camera. Gunther is how he is, and he's perfect in my opinion. And with Ludwig Kaiser on his side, it's the perfect act, because you have a guy who can speak, who both look great, and you have the guy who's in the ring and just destroying everybody. So yeah. But I think even in general, if you would be your native language would be English, and you're not a good promo, you're not a good talker, they let you. They do not give you all the time in mind. Maybe some couple lines, something like this. So depending.
Yeah. And the last one is, there's obviously for the British wrestling scene, there's a massive event on the horizon in September with WWE bringing Clash at the Castle across. And I'm really interested to know, from your perspective in mainland Europe, has that buzz kind of come across? Is it kind of a kick for the entire industry across in Europe? Like, are the Germans and maybe the Italians and the French fans, are they all excited? Are we going to see a renaissance in the industry across here?
I haven't heard anything so far, but I have to say I'm pretty off like social media and media in general, because I don't like it. I use my social media just to promote stuff and just just to stay in contact with people, but like especially social media is such a shit place at the moment with so many idiots on there. So yeah, fuck that. So what's being said is that I personally haven't heard anything, but I can assume that I think it's September 3rd, right? Is that on a Sunday or on a Saturday?
It's on the Saturday. I know there's like other shows running. So like Progress has a show on the Sunday. Yeah. I think ICW doing one.
That tells it all. It's basically the WrestleMania weekend in the UK. So a lot of promotions will have shows there because a lot of people will come there. It's a stadium show, and I think especially England was waiting again for a big pay-per-view, a bigger pay-per-view. Since the Wembley Stadium they had in '92, right? So, and especially mainland Europe, I believe that a lot of shows who probably try to be there. I haven't heard anything from any German promotion who try to be there, but I think a lot of like the British promotions will probably try just to have a 24/7 schedule. And I remember WrestleMania weekend, you also had like shows running like at midnight till whatever. And I best believe that that will happen there again. So probably Wales will be full of resting for at least 3 or 4 days, I guess.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there is already an announced show for like midnight after Clash at the Castle finishes. But
and probably if you think about it, so there's still NXT UK.
Yeah.
So they maybe will have something like a takeover as well, because it's about time. They still in the BT Sports arena or sports studio and taping some stuff. Before that, we used to tour around England from Coventry to Hull and Glasgow, and we've been here and there and just having 2 days of TV production in front of like a lot of people. And I remember the last time NXT UK was in Wales, it was a takeover Cardiff, and that takeover Cardiff was massive. It's such a great like show, and just being there live and just an awesome experience. And then the day after, even so many people just stood for a TV taping. So I think it's not only the pay-per-view, it's also NXT UK probably doing something. My guess, I don't know.
Yeah.
And yeah, like broker of an ICW there, easy peasy. So a lot of fun wrestling.
I mean, you look great. You know, I've had a blast talking to you. I guess my last thing to say was, I know there's a famous saying in wrestling, which is never say never. You're obviously enjoying your time on the independent scene. Will there ever come a time where we will see you back in the States on a promotion, or are you happy where you are?
I'm happy, but I will never sit down and rest on what I have accomplished now. Again, I'm very compatible in that, and for me, it's always sky is the limit. I would love just to find another promotion to get contracted to, and just like to experience a different place. But I got asked a lot if I would ever go back to WWE, or if I would like to join AEW or whatever. So my answer to everything is yes, of course. Right now, a different situation, because I moved back with my family, with my wife and my son, to Germany because we wanted to. Even if I got let go, the plans were just to move in end of 2021 back to Germany full time, because I was an NXT UK guy. And then it came earlier, but it was the decision from us before that, because living in the States is great. I loved it more than my wife, but my wife was pretty lonely at that time, because I was at work or at home or wherever on tour, but she always was alone at home, away from friends, away from family. All my family, I was like, I saw them a couple times a year. I was fine with that, but the majority of my friends been at work, so I was the lucky one with that. I probably also, from the risk factor, would never ever really move back full time to the States. Only if the contract is saying that, let's say, for example, like the WWE version was, okay, you get a 3-year contract, but we let you go after 1 year, and then you have to leave the country because you in 1 month because you're just under a working visa.
Yeah.
I was going for the green card, but then I rejected because I was trying to move back to Germany, and it would make no sense like to spend all the money for the green card then. So, but if for example the contract is you sign for 3 years and you get paid guaranteed for 3 years, that would be a different scenario, because then you not get surprised out of the blue. Hey, guess what? In 1 month we have to get out of this country because I got fired, and that's just a shit scenario, especially. My wife and I, or my wife is expecting, we get our second child around August, so there's another one I need to take care of, and that's the thing. Like, I would love to get a contract, and but right now I'm mature enough to know exactly what I want. So if it's AEW, also would love to work there. It's a great product and a lot of like great guys there. A lot of brothers I know from NXT there. WWE is also still, I love working there, and the company was great, no matter what you say, and different flavors everywhere. I had a great time there, great exposure, great experience. But if something else, like Japan, for example, or even like a different promotion in the States, there's so many promotions who hire people and put them under a contract. And it, as long as it's lucrative and it would be benefit me and the company as well, yeah, why not? Definitely. But I enjoy also my indie run right now because I'm my own boss. I can do my own stuff. I can do my own schedule. Yeah, requests and like it's mad right now. Like till mid of August, I'm every weekend somewhere else in the world, so cannot complain at all.
Great. Well, congratulations as well on baby number 2 or child number 2 when they come along.
Thank you.
Really excited to see you in a couple of weeks up in Newcastle. And again, just thank you very much for your time. It's been a blast, and I'll make sure I come say hello.
Oh yeah, please come by and say hello. Awesome. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you very much. I'll catch you later.
Bye.